I huffed as I clicked yes to play again. The last one left was the bear. I tapped the screen to read her summary. Stuffy, like the Tin Man, all she ever wanted was your heart. Well, and a liver, spleen, lungs, and your greasy guts. Your voice sounds really pretty too, Kimura. Out of concern for Sachi, I covered my mouth to hold in a scream. I was panicking, trembling, ready to throw the phone at the wall and have it break into 1,000 pieces. This is real. This is real. No, this can't be real. But how did the game know my name? How was it able to text me? Was this a virus? Was this getting all my information from my phone just to mess me up? Is there some psychopath stalking me now, tracking everything I'm doing because Sachi downloaded this game? Could this person see through my camera lens? I freaked out. I didn't know whether to keep playing or tell Mom, but the game made the decision for me. A new bubblegum pink pop-up appeared on my screen. Save her. I manned up. I didn't know who I was saving, but I was going to do it. I tapped the screen hard and waited for the game to load. This would be my last try. I didn't think I could handle any more of this. This time, when I entered the room, the graphics were completely different. No more 8-bit game. It had been upgraded to have graphics similar to a console game. I saw the textured walls and saw a gold door in front of me, which had the sign that read, "Let's play tag. You must get to the pretty princess room before they find you." The mechanics of the game are still the same. Just point to where you want to go, and I'll be there. I decided to take a look around the room to see what the objects looked like up close. Before, in low graphic mode, this game didn't seem so scary, except for the videos, of course. But now it was frightening. The dolls had blood stains on them. There were toys missing limbs scattered around, and there were scratches on the pillows and the walls that looked like they had made by children's fingernails. I then looked at my in-game hands. They looked very similar to my own, and my character's pajamas were identical to mine. I couldn't see my face, but I knew, somehow, the game had made a copy of me. A tremor went up my spine, but I told myself to be brave. Whoever this girl was, she needed me. I opened the door and exited the room, returning to a familiar hallway. I glanced back at the door and realized the lock only worked from the outside. That meant whoever was inside, like little kids, could easily be locked in. The passage was tight, with hardly any space to move. The lights in the ceiling were bright, making it hard to see. Through earbuds, I could hear my breathing, my heartbeat, my footsteps, and eventually, I heard noises that weren't mine. I slowed down, turning away from time to time to make sure I wasn't being followed. The hallway seemed endless, but the noises continued, thuds growing louder as I took the first fork in the road. And that's when I saw it, her. She stood taller than me, walking on all fours. Her bones were still stained with fresh blood, but her coat had flies looping around it. Her claws were exposed, her teeth large, her mandible moving in a way that showed she was ready to take a bite at me. Skinny Minnie's head bound and her back arched high, and I knew she was getting ready to pounce. I bolted back down the hallway I had just came from, with the skeleton cat in hot pursuit of me. My character was starting to slow down, clearly exhausted, and I was nearly begging her to run faster. The hallway seemed much longer now that I was in a rush. Skinny Minnie gained up on me, almost gnawing at my ankles. I didn't know if my plan worked, but I didn't have many options. In a final sprint, I made it to the starting room and slammed the door shut. I ran to the left side of the door and stood by the wall, praying she wouldn't be smart enough to curb her speed. God must have heard my prayers, because like I had predicted, the bony beast flung the door wide open and charged in quickly. Her strike led her more than enough feet away from me, and as she turned around, I grabbed the door handle and tried to rush out of the exit. She rapidly turned herself towards me, snarling, but I managed to shut the door and lock her in by tapping the latch as fast as I could. I backed away, and the creature continued to slam against the barrier, smashing into the metal door and leaving an enormous dent. Clawing scrapes and screeching outcries could be heard, and I started to back away fast in case she could really break through the obstacle. Once I was back at the fork of the road, I felt more relaxed. I couldn't hear anything but my own breathing and footsteps. I was confused on which direction to go. The message I received told me to save her, but I didn't know if it meant one of the little girls. I was hesitant, afraid to get caught in a trap. I had gone left both times at the first intersection, and in neither instance did it turn out well. I had no clue what was on the right side, yet somehow was more fearful of the unknown than the horrors I had previously witnessed. Then I saw her. Out of the corner of my eye, a sable-skinned girl in flamingo-colored dress ran by. She looked familiar, but I couldn't see her facial features. She ran down the hallway, then made another right, so I couldn't see her anymore. I followed her. I could hear the delicate pitter-patter of her bare feet, but no matter how fast my character ran, I mostly only saw the blinding lights from the ceiling and her occasional ankle as I hurried behind her. I kept my focus on the girl I was chasing, at times seeing a bit more of her. Her curls looked like Sachi's. She looked about the same height, but she never turned around, so I could never be sure. Even though there was only one hallway, no intersections, the turns were quick, and we must have made hundreds of them. The game went on, but I was never any closer to her, and I began to question whether I should be following her or not, until I heard the sound of something following me. I heard a creature that didn't move the way the girl did. It didn't have 2 feet hitting the ground at different times, but instead made a loud stomping noise, then repeated every few seconds, then every second as it sped up. I didn't dare look behind me, knowing if I did I would be the last thing I would see before another black screen. Besides, I knew who it must be. Biddy Brains. When her shrill voice began to speak, I was so startled I nearly took my finger off the screen.
I spy with my little eye a sweet little girl much slower than
I cringed as sweat began to slide down my forehead. My heart was pounding so hard it felt like I was the only one really running instead of my character. Biddy Brains taunted me, saying,
She's much faster than you. I thought you were an athlete, Kimmy.
I continued to press the screen, swiping left and right as quickly as possible whenever it was time to make a turn.
Maybe you'd be much faster if I chased you in real life. I can't wait to find out.
I shuddered, wondering how in the world I was going to escape her. Suddenly, the child in front of me stopped. She just stopped. I was too afraid to stop with her. I thought maybe if I tapped her on my screen, I would get her to move, but I was only getting closer to her. She was frozen, her arms extended like a bird about to take flight. I just kept running. My character moved through her like I had just passed through mist. I kept rushing on until I could no longer hear anyone in the hallway but myself. Reluctantly, I turned my character around and didn't see Biddy Brains nor the girl. I walked back because I caught sight of something. It appeared as a couple dark blurs at the end of the hall, but the closer I got, the easier it became to make out. On the floor was a few tufts of curly hair. I felt sad. Sad that I never got to see her face. Sad because I felt she had sacrificed herself for me. I couldn't let her die in vain. I had to win. Even if she was just a character, even if all of this was a bogus game with simulated snuff films to mentally mess with anyone who played it, quitting or losing weren't options. I ran down the hall again, exploring most of the unknown. The game started to glitch, with sections of the screen turning gray. Then I was sent a text message that appeared on the top of my screen. Stop. I didn't. I kept going forward. I soon received another. Stop! I continued, but so did the message. All at once, I began to receive back-to-back messages that made my phone vibrate intensely. Hundreds of them came in and kept telling me to stop. The game began to glitch more. The text made it hard to play, as each one slowed the game down further. The phone became hot, searing my fingers until I saw light smoke trails near my thumb. I refused to let go of the phone, even when drops of blood sprinkled down my thighs as I sat cross-legged. My efforts were rewarded. I soon saw a dark pink door at the end of the hallway. Deep in my gut, I knew this had to be the pretty princess room. It had a frame of red roses and sunflowers growing all around the door, and a beautiful engravings of little angels, all girls, engraved into the wood. I was about to rush in when the door cracked open. The first thing I noticed was the stomach. It had been burst open from the top to the bottom of the torso, and a reddened thread still attached to the lengthy needle loosely held it together. Entrails wriggled past red-stained cotton and dangled to her brown furred knees. Slowly, my eyes moved up, stopping at her throbbing heart and pulsing lungs that were too small for her massive body. I stared at her chest hypnotically, too startled to breathe. I finally moved my character's head up, and the bear's face met mine. Stuffy's unsettling smile soon turned to words I'll never forget. You should have checked on me. Her voice was her voice. I immediately threw my phone and pulled the covers off. When I turned to my side, tears streamed from my eyes when I saw that the bed was flat. I screamed out her name repeatedly until our mom barged into the room to find out what was wrong. She asked me where Sachi was, and all I could do was continue to yell out her name. She began to holler her name out too when she noticed a breeze moving through the curtain. Mom pushed it aside and saw the window was open. I hurried behind her as she looked out, her face filled with confusion. Outside the window stood our tall oak tree. 3 plush dolls sat on the branch, each carrying a small, sharp needle. They never found who sent them to us, nor found the body for us to claim. There was not a shred of evidence of the game ever existing on my phone. Police officers told us she likely ran away that awful night. And after many years, I started to believe I had imagined it all. Until this morning when I woke up to a text on my phone. Want to play again? Yes or no?